Welcome back to another episode of English 101 with me, Jeff Sanger. Hope you're doing well and making progress on your annotated bibliography. Because, of course, the final draft is coming up. As you can see, I'm in the module view here to remind you, of course, about the lots of great activities we have in week 15 to help you find the 5 sources that you need for the annotated bibliography. And then, of course, there's lots more to come in week 16, but I've got this reminder here for you that, of course, the final draft for the annotated bibliography is going to be due on Tuesday at class time, and that's worth 150 points. So today we're going to talk about how to use onesearch. It's yet another library search tool. So let's get right into that. All right, I always like to get to the library from home by typing GCCAZ library into Google and then click the mobile site. Okay, so we have already talked about how to find lots of great sources using the different databases you find here. Today we're going to talk about how to use onesearch. So look, let's just get right into it. It's pretty easy to type right in here, but the trick of using it properly is to use the limiters, which I'm going to show you in a moment. So go ahead and type your topic keywords in here. So maybe that is e-cigarette regulation, or maybe that is soda taxes, or maybe that is anyhow. We'll demonstrate both topics in here, but let's start with e-cigarette regulation. Let's go ahead and untick this, right? Because we don't want to exclude news. I want to show you everything. Hit enter. And you are going to get a lot of results. You're going to see why the limiters are so important. Okay, so if you want to follow along with me, the first thing you want to do is click this button that says Clear Filters, because I'm going to show you how the filters work. Let's start with a clean slate. As you can see, there are over 100,000 results. This is not a good thing. When you use Google, they've got a great algorithm to make sure that the stuff on the first page is highly relevant. With the library, you need to use the filters, which are all conveniently over on this side of the page. You're going to use these filters to cut down the number of results to increase the chances that the ones that you get are relevant. So let me show you how to do that. First of all, let's tick online items and items at my institution. Okay, because GCC has got a lot of great online sources. I don't think you want to try to mess with a physical item right now because I don't think you can check anything out. I do not believe the library is open. Anyhow, so green check marks are the database's way of saying we are only showing you things that meet this criteria. Okay, so it's still over 100,000, so we need to do more. Jump down here to where it says publication date. This is so easy and important. Okay, you've read about crap testing. We do not want sources in this paper that are over 10 years old. There's just no excuse for that. There's too many other highly credible sources that are much more recent. In fact, let's just do last 5 years and see what we get for results. Again, I'm willing to look at things that are up to 10 years as long as you have a good reason for it being that old. As you can see, it cut the results in a third. All right, so that's 70,000 we're not even going to bother looking at because they're so old. Okay, how else might we limit the results? Well, now we can get into this field that says content type, okay? And you see the different types of articles. So of those 30,000, 15,000 of them almost are journal articles, okay? Academic journals are high-level informational sources that are not required for my English 101 class. I use them in 102, so you are not required to use these. If you really want to, you are welcome to do so, but they're dense and require some focused reading to create proper annotations. Instead, I would encourage you to explore maybe newspaper articles and even ebooks. So let's talk about how to do that, right? Well, you already figured it out, I bet. If I click newspaper articles, it's going to put the green check mark there. And now, as you can see from the titles, all of these things that it returns. All of these hits are newspaper articles that have to do with my keyword search. As you can see, when I click on the source, it's going to prompt me to sign in with my MEID. Pretty easy to do. Now, you do have to be careful when you use the library. There are some great sources here, but there are some that do not pass the crap test. Take a look at this source. This is not at the right level for an academic paper. It's much too short. Why? It's a letter to the editor. It's not a legitimate article. It's a letter written by this guy, who probably doesn't have much more authority in terms of writing about e-cigarette regulation than you or I do. So this is not a source you would want to use. But that's okay, right? Because of course there are lots of other results here to choose from, right? Here's one from the New York Times, calls for stronger regulation on e-cigarettes. This is a good example, right? Because the New York Times will only let you look at so many articles for free if you're on Google. But of course, if you're in the library, you can read as many as you want. Oh, shucks, it's another letter to the editor. Not one that we want. Apologies for that, but these things happen. Here's an informational article. All right, you can tell by the title of this one. This is in the Washington Post. Okay, and you can see its industry response to some e-cigarette regulations. Okay, so you can read that, decide if it would be a good fit. If it was, and you wanted to use it, here they've got that cite button. You can press the cite button. This is demonstrated in another video, but I wanted to show you this because, look, they try to give you 7th edition. You don't want that. That's outdated. So you click the drop down and say, I want MLA 8th edition. Now it's given me the proper citation, which I can cut and paste into my annotated bibliography. Okay, so let's go back to our results. Enough about that. Let's look at some of the other content type. Maybe I want to look at books instead of newspaper articles, so I'll click that. Now it's showing me books and newspaper articles. So if I only want to see books and ebooks, let me just untick newspaper articles. Ebooks are interesting because you're welcome to just use a chapter. Right? You don't have to read the whole book. You might find an interesting chapter that you could use in your annotated bibliography. Let's go down and look at one other limiter. So look, let's get rid of the ebooks. We'll take it back to everything else. And now we're back to 30,000 results. Let's say you were interested in the comparison of risk between e-cigarettes and smoking. You see under subject terms, they have articles where smoking is indexed as a subject term. You could check out those. Okay, and as you can see, here's one that is about, would this regulation improve adolescents' health? Because of course they're thinking about, the connection with tobacco smoking there. So you can experiment with the subject terms as well. You can click more and see all the different subject terms. Asthma, right? Anyhow, I'll let you experiment with that. But the idea is that the more of these limiters you select, the smaller of a number you get here. You get a small enough number, you can search through the results much more easily. Okay, now let's go ahead and clear all the filters. And let's do the other topic in here. Alright, so let's put soda taxes in. We get 63,000 results. Again, I'm going to tell it just online, things that are at my institution, and I'm going to tell it I only want to see things from the last 5 years. These are the most basic limiters. You definitely, if you're going to use OneSearch, you have to use at least these. Okay, so as you can see, I've clicked the last 5 years, and it has reduced the number of results to 13,000. Much easier to scroll through. If I wanted to limit them more, I could say, ooh, I wonder how the soft drink industry has responded to this. And then I could look at 750 articles that speak just to that. Again, maybe I'll say, wow, I just want to look at newspaper articles. Like, right, I probably don't want to see a television transcript. Okay, so again, you use this so that it only shows you the ones that are going to be more useful to you. Okay, so I'll leave it to you to experiment with some of the other subject terms down here, as much or as little as you like. Again, you know how to see the sources. You click on them, right? Sometimes they'll come right up like this. Sometimes you'll have to click on a PDF. As you can see, this is a newspaper article. It's one of the ones that's got the citation MLA at the bottom. That's the one you want, not APA, right? Now, remember, you're supposed to be thinking about, you need some opinionated articles for the annotated bibliography and also some informational ones. Now, this title sounds opinionated, but it is not clearly flagged as an op-ed, so you would have to read it to determine whether it was informational or opinionated. One more thing, remember, if you're in a hurry and you found some great sources but you don't have time to read them, don't use this URL to save the source. It doesn't always work if you try to access it later. Use this one. No matter what database you're in, they're going to have some version of this little chain thing. It's called a permalink. Click that. Copy paste that into Google Docs or wherever you are saving your web links so that you can find sources when you're ready to read them in entirety. Because of course you do need to read them in entirety to create proper annotations for the annotated bibliography. I think that's about all I've got. Check out some of the other helpful videos in here if you haven't already. And of course, feel free to work back through previous materials as needed, right? Because indeed, to create the notes on authority for your annotated bibliography, you're going to have to be proficient in crap testing. Which, honestly, from looking at the discussion board from last week, it looks like people understand that. But definitely, as always, contact me if you have any problems or if you have questions. I'm looking forward to reading your final drafts, and I want to be sure they come out as great as they can. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.